Clash Mini has 26 minis and I have 26 tips just for you. Here is a tip for every single mini in the game, starting off with 2 Elixir Minis. Our first mini is the Knight. With the recent balance changes, the Knight received a new Clash ability that allows him to force all the close units to attack him. But did you know this works on a miner? Yeah, it's crazy. After he finishes digging, he will ignore everyone and go for the Knight. Next coming up is the Barbarian, and because he's such a fragile unit, he gets hard countered by the giant skeleton. So my tip here is to place him far in the back and hope the giant skeleton detonates before the Barbarian gets close. There is also a chance your Barbarian will end up catching a prince or a miner, providing extra value. I'd take that any day. For the next one, it's gonna be about the miner. Knowing the Wave Master targets the farthest unit, it might be smart to send a miner far in some corner so the Wave Master goes for him, ignoring all your other troops. Now for the archer, I have a very special one. Recently they changed the first upgrade, so when you get the double arrow, she shoots slower. If the enemy has only one ranged unit, it might not be worth it to get the double arrow to target it with a tank, but keeping the archer with one arrow would make her focus on the ranged unit and take it out faster. But the enemy might end up putting a tank in the back and making the archer absolutely useless, so it might be worth it to get the double arrow. In that case, you have to be reactive and smart. Next coming up is the Spear Goblin, and his power comes in his early game value, as he gives a massive disadvantage for your opponent by one-shotting some of their valuable minis. My advice is to remember which minis die in one shot and how the interactions change when they get upgraded. I'll make this easier for you and show you them on the screen. Now feel free to pause the video. Wizard is known to either get so much value from his splash or to completely flop off and target the tank only. Now to maximize his value, I want you to treat him like a bowler. Try to predict where the opponent will stack up his minis and place him in the same lane, so it's more likely for him to target that line up. After the wizard, we have his cooler brother coming up, and my tip for you is when playing against the countess, make sure you have his 3rd star upgrade and have him be the lowest hit point unit, so when the countess teleports to him and take him out, she will get frozen. Coming up next, we have the swordsman, which has a unique ability that gives him super back when he knocks an enemy out. Well, maybe it's not unique because the Royal Champion works that way. This is very useful in 1v1s since all the 5 damage will be focused on one target, making it more likely to take out an enemy. Place him to defend against a miner and he will take him out and go to the battle with an already full super. Next, we have a funny double change. The Countess mechanics were changed, so the caged strategy doesn't work on it anymore. However, with the emergency balance changes, the Skeleton Guard was also reworked to have less base HP and more shield, making him a viable cage bait for the Countess again, since he is now very squishy without his shield on. Now we're done with the 2 Elixir Minis, which means now it's time for 3 Elixir Minis. And now for the Musketeer, I have a very interesting tip for you, and which is I would advise you to try and place it closer to the center than the corners, since having a Musketeer at a sharp angle will result in her pushing enemies into a wall, wasting 1 or 2 tiles of pushback. Upcoming next is the Giant Skeleton, and if you're using him, statistics say that you're most likely playing Archer Queen, which gets us into this tip. Don't be afraid to use his stun upgrade instead of his damage upgrade against hard counters like Shield Maiden or Wave Master, because those extra stun seconds can be a life-saving change. The Lumberjack one might be a glitch, but I'll just tell you about it so you can avoid it. And for the Clash Mini team, if you're watching this, maybe consider fixing it. So the Lumberjack's Clash ability targets the closest unit to him, no matter how far it is, so it's safe to play him far away. However, there's a little issue I discovered with the shell tire that makes the Lumberjack completely waste his rage potion, so make sure the closest unit to the Lumberjack isn't on a shell tile or you will end up wasting it. So the mini P.E.K.K.A tip will take a different approach. My tip for the mini P.E.K.K.A is to always, and I mean always, use him with Dissipate upgrade in round 1 against the boss, because it's simply a guaranteed victory no matter what the boss level was, of course assuming you're using a tanky hero, because the mini P.E.K.K.A would die in a 1v1 against the boss alone. Coming up next, we have our speedy boy, the Dart Goblin. So the Dart Goblin's special trait is the more he attacks, the faster he gets. You can pair him up with Lumberjack, Healing Ranger or the Archer Queen to give him rage, allowing him to go very crazy. Now it's time to talk about the bowler. I'm feeling a little generous today, so I'll give you 2 tips for him instead of 1. The first tip is you can use the bowler to push back a giant skeleton a little to the back, so your units are less likely to target it. The second tip I have is that the bowler is really effective at taking out the mirrored minis after the new mirror rework, so it's pretty important to know that the default side of your opponent's mirror is on the right, unless he blocks it by something, but either way you will hit that something, so it's guaranteed to get value if he uses the mirror. The Healing Ranger is coming up next, and dude, do I have a spicy tip for you. With the wider range, the healing ranger can actually heal the unit behind it, and this can be useful when you want to keep your queen in the back. The healing ranger will heal the tank in front and end up also healing the queen behind it since it has the wider range upgrade. Next we have our little mermaid. Can you all act like I have the skin? Okay, so the Valkyrie is a really good unit to send on the shell. Even if someone caught it, there's a chance she will catch their important mini with the huge range she has. On top of that, the Valkyrie's clash ability is one of the only clash abilities that don't get cancelled by the shell. And who am I to give you a use for the seashell without giving you a counter? I love using the golden giant to stop minis thrown with the seashell because he can stun them every now and then. Just watch out from the 2-star mini P.E.K.K.A.s though, because those usually destroy him. That's all the 3 Elixir Minis, leaving us with only 4 Elixir Minis left to go through. The first one is the Fisherman, and the way he is designed is to be a high risk, high reward mini. My tip for you is to keep him as a secret trap card in your deck and use him when not expected to steal a whole round from your enemy. Coming up next, the charming and the beautiful prince. Fun fact, the name was confirmed to be Andrew by Clash Royale. So my tip for the prince is to combine him with miner. Put the prince on a side and the miner on the other side. The enemy mini will go to the prince and ignore the miner. Next up we got the big mama P.E.K.K.A, and my tip for her is when you use the shield upgrade, which you should actually do since it's very good, make sure to place her all the way in front alone so she absorbs all and every single attack coming. It might end up absorbing like 20 damage, putting you at a massive advantage over your opponent. Next upcoming is the magic archer. Remember when your geometry teacher kept telling you that you will use those formulas in real life someday? You thought he was joking? Playing the magic archer is all about the angles, so make sure you get very good at placements and try to get some good reads with him. Next we have the Mega Knight. A neat trick you can do with the Mega Knight is to get the bigger radius jump so your opponent can't place ranged units in the first 2 rows. That allows you to have more chance of pulling them with a Fisherman because they would have only 4 spots to choose from instead of 6. Next we have our Guardian Angel, the battle healer. My tip is to never use her as a standalone tank so she doesn't die quickly. You can pair her with the Ice Wizard to make sure she is more likely to trigger her super before she ends up dying. Next up we have the nightmare of every OJ Clash player in history. The monster that will make you get flashbacks to the dark history you lived because of him. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. It's obviously the Electro Wizard. So my tip for the Electro Wizard is quite obvious. You turn on your time machine and go back to November 8th and get your Electro Wizard from there. Okay, seriously though, the Electro Wizard doesn't have much range, so don't place him far in the back or he will waste time walking. Finally, we have the Witch, the most dead and forgotten unit. Please buff the Witch. Okay, so for the Witch, my tip is to use her clash ability against Countess because the skeletons have the lowest HP in the game and the Countess is more likely to target them all the time. That's 26 tips for 26 minis. Now, in exchange of this valuable information, you have to press that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. I'll see you in the next video.